Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the hottest fighting game out right now, it quite literally just left the shelf and fell into a lava pit of greatness. Not even Ghostface's Mortal Kombat debut can outshine what Sparking Zero has cooking up right here. Anyways, today we have just a few matches I want to show you of how I've been faring in Sparking Zero, since this is my first Dragon Ball game. Although it is my first Dragon Ball game, it is not my first anime fighting game. Having played Ninja Storm, Shinobi Striker, Cursed Clash, and Jump Force, I'm already familiar with the light-heavy attack system, so it wasn't that hard to get accustomed to. But speaking of these other fighters, Shinobi Striker gets hella competitive, and it's still fun to play when they're constantly dropping new characters and moves. And Cursed Clash was fire. I know Cursed Clash be getting the heat, but in my opinion, when it first dropped, bro, having all the domain expansions and stuff you can do with different characters, like Nanami and his critical hit, if you timed it well, you can get mad damage after every string. And Toto with his claps allowing you to switch with literally anyone in sight, as long as you're in range, and if you weren't in range you could throw a rock to get in range. And the domain expansion, changing the entire scenery, bro, the game was actually dope. But you know, Mortal Kombat was still fairly new, and we were still in Combat Pack 1 awaiting Ermac, Homelander, and Takeda, so I was definitely prioritizing Mortal Kombat at the time. But back to Sparking Zero, other than the training the game gives you, scrolling on social media and finding those Sparking Zero reels giving you tips and tricks was low-key how I quickly improved on this game. But it wasn't the major thing. The best way I was able to improve fast in this game was to hop in online ranked and see how people play. Learning a game plan or playstyle first and then hopping online to see how better players counter it so that I can fix it up later in training is a good way for me to improve quickly. And obviously having a lot of playtime online to try to find in consistency with everyone's playstyle. Knowledge is just as important as experience, because if I don't know how someone got around my offense or pressure, then I won't know how to work around it. And the same goes for defense. If I don't know that super counters can get you out of back shots, then I'm eating 20,000 damage every time I get turned around in combos. I remember my first time seeing After Image, I was like, whoa. When I first went into training after the Gohan training where we learned all the controls and stuff, I went straight to the character I wanted to play and focused on making a team around him, which you can see is Whis. And Whis doesn't have After Image or any of the fighters I picked to side with Whis. So now that I know how After Image works and how long it can last, I can be more confident in my ability to play around. Now, super counters, which a lot of people struggle on, was another thing I was struggling on, but when I found out I did use Ki from the training, I was like, well, I see why it's this hard. Super counters are super hard to do, but they can get you out of situations where you don't have Ki, and is literally, I think, your only option for when you're getting comboed from behind. So in learning this game, it was good that Sparking Zero had an escape for almost everything you could possibly get hit with, except for those unblockables at point blank range. A lot of Sparking Zero players you would assume have watched the anime, but I, on the other hand, am in the very low percentage of people who have not. Throughout the years, I've seen so many clips and videos of Dragon Ball that I just happen to know some of the characters at this point. But ever since the release of this game, I decided, you know, I might as well start watching it. But since I'm not necessarily caught up in Dragon Ball, what made me pick Whis to build a team around? Well, other than the fact that he has an auto dodge, he seemed like a unique character. Before picking up Whis, I did not know who he was, but with time, I've come to learn that he is an angel or god that either can't be hit or it is really hard to hit him. But other than those reasons I gave, Whis seems pretty unique, he's untouchable, and his whole demeanor is just funny to me. At first, I tried pairing Z Broly with Whis, and there wasn't necessarily anything I disliked about Broly's fighting style or strengths. I guess I just wanted to try out different people with Whis. So I switched to Z Frieza's first form and was actually rocking with it for a minute and ended up climbing a full rank with him and Whis. After every transformation, he gets some health back, and when he gets to his fourth form, you get that instant Sparking Zero skill, which can turn the tide of the match pretty fast. And finally, as you can see here, I'm now trying out Goku Black, so I don't really have an optimal team right now that if I were to bring out my strongest, this will be it type of team. But Goku Black is putting in work, he fights fast, and he has what I believe is called a rolling hammer in his Super Saiyan form. The same with Z Frieza's second form, that'll allow you to easily turn your opponent around. He also has instant transmission and an instant sparking skill in Super Saiyan form, so one thing that Goku Black helped me out here with the entirety of fighting in this game is using skills, which when used at the right moment can literally be the turning point of any match. Hopping into our second match, I went up against a team of 3. What I've been seeing in online ranked is mainly teams of 3s and 4s, and I rarely see teams like mine with only 2. So how hard is it really playing with a team of 2 in ranked? Well, since Whis has an auto dodge, a good sum of health, fast punches, pretty good speed, and a self heal, and really shows what a true god's power would look like. I guess it really comes down to who can support him best. I obviously considered having more members, but in my opinion, I feel it's better to have 2 strong fighters compared to 1 really strong fighter and a bunch of mid ones. So with only 2, I do have to watch how aggressive I am, and my defense has to be almost perfect to avoid as much damage as possible. That's why practice is important. Just sitting in practice super countering over and over again, Z countering over and over again, fighting the CPU's randomness over and over again can prepare you for the randomness that may occur online. And maybe you'll be able to adapt to playstyles much faster compared to before you locked in on training. You know how when you practice guarding against revenge counters and the CPU just spams it back to back to back? People will actually do this online, so you could say they're preparing you for what's to come when you play against randomness. But even though for newcomers like me it may be a challenge getting used to a completely different fighting game with different mechanics, etc., the game can sometimes be kind of fresh for seasoned players as well. So we all are really learning the game at the same time. As I climb higher in the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero ranks, I obviously start to see smarter playstyles that isn't everyone just holding perception and hoping for the best. People will bait with perception, bait you to punch by charging the key, dash behind you into a quick grab, you know, things that'll actually make you think of your next move. But you know, there's always the key blast route that can serve as a visual distraction and disrupt perception. Not a lot of players run 10 DP fighters like Beerus, Whis, and whoever else is 10 DP. Not even Ultra Instinct Goku is 10 DP. The main people I'm constantly fighting against is Master Roshi, Goku, Gogeta, and Gohan, whether it's kid, teen, adult, or future. I'm most likely going to see at least one of those fighters every single match. And Yajirobe is another one too, with his unblockables and ish. Just like how Mortal Kombat has metas where Kung Lao was dominant at a time, and then Goro and all these other cameos, Chameleon. If there's a meta right now in Sparking Zero, it would definitely be fighters with unblockables after image and the instant key recovery. With a bunch of new players picking up Sparking Zero, the unblockables are almost impossible to avoid or even dodge, and you're most likely going to be eating 3 health bars of damage just because you were close to your opponent. When I was playing with Z Broly, I believe I had an instant key recovery skill, but like I said earlier, I didn't really start utilizing skills until I picked up Goku Black, unfortunately. But I can always go back to him, you know? Z Broly is always going to be there. Now with this instant key recovery skill, I don't know what the actual name for it is. I'm sure every fighter that has it as a skill has a different name for it, but it enables an aggressive playstyle to where usually when both fighters will be charging key, one can pop the skill, get a hit off to where we're in this Z counter stage and just win it every time. I feel like that's the best way with that skill to waste your opponent's key and deal damage at the same time, constantly having a key advantage. Throughout the C rank and now into B, I've never had to consistently deal with that kind of playstyle, but maybe as I climb even further, there'll be movements and tech that are way out of my league. After image is another interesting skill that hasn't been giving me problems, but is kind of hard to understand. I believe it's a one-time use move, but sometimes I see people spamming it like the one-time use has a long duration, and other times I see people use it once and get nowhere with it. Basically, I haven't seen anything broken about it, it's just a lot of people use it. It gets people out of a hit and gives them a chance to blindside the opponent. A lot of people use it with Master Roshi, Videl, Pan, and surely plenty of other fighters that I don't know have the skill. But other than after image and instant key recovery, unblockables can literally be the reason one guy takes out your entire team, especially when they have an instant sparking with an unblockable ultimate. Unfortunately, Goku Black nor Whis have unblockable ultimates. If they're just thrown out there and the opponent is blocking, they'll just fly past them. But you know, for people like Yajirobe, Master Roshi, and Mr. Satan, even though he doesn't do that much damage, their unblockables can just be thrown out at close range, and you just gotta hope for the best. As someone who plays a Mortal Kombat character with an unblockable setup, unblockables are not fun. But I'm sure as I progress through the anime of Dragon Ball and continue with Z, then Super, then GT, and then finally Daima, I'll start to take a liking to more characters, building teams around them, and enjoying the game much more overall, since I will actually know who these characters are. Usually when everyone first starts out on the fighting game, they beeline straight to their favorite character or to a character that sticks out to them, and they'll rock with this character because it doesn't matter how they compare to the rest of the roster, this character is who they have the most fun with. But like I said, that's usually how it will go. Now everyone goes straight to the lore accurate strongest character as time goes on and more characters are being played and their moves being revealed, and now the lore accurate strongest character doesn't have the specific move that this mid-tier character has, allowing him to loop the opponent into something that's really hard to get out of, even though this stronger character does higher damage than most of the roster and has a lot more health with pretty valuable skills and moves. But looking at it from the perspective of a newcomer or someone struggling to improve and find counters to what everyone's cheesing with, I guess actually joining the meta and seeing for yourself how is that exactly the cheese works against online players and watching how they play around the cheese could help you form playstyle ideas with your original team to go back and counter all the cheesers you couldn't best before. I do think all of the cheese in Sparking Zero with the unblockable spams can be played around and countered. You don't have to switch your favorite characters up to form a cheesy team to have fun. Unless I guess you've run out of favorite characters and have DP to spare. All of these unblockables can be performed by an AI in training, which means you can practice the Z counter timing, dash timing, or any way you could possibly escape these unforgivable spams. In the beginning of matches, there are plenty of ways you can start a match. Immediately rushing your opponent, key blasting them, Z-dashing at them, or even running away. But for me, I like to, feel my opponent out first before committing to a move, so I usually begin matches just floating around or slowly approaching my opponent, which this Frieza quickly takes advantage of. When I think of what people may assume my team is after seeing my first fighter, I'm almost certain they never expect a 10 DP Whis just waiting patiently to be tagged in. I've actually never went up against another Whis or even a Beerus. I guess 10 DP fighters just aren't worth it to majority of the players. I mean, when you have fighters that are 7 and 8 DP and can transform or fuse into a 10 DP fighter, I mean, what's the point of wasting space, right? Like I said before, where as you climb higher in the ranks, the more opponents are going to make you think about your next move. Well, this guy on Frieza definitely had me questioning whether I wanted to get aggressive or not. Every time I went for an armor break or sweep, he had perception ready, which, is pretty common. But the fact that I was trying to dash around his perception and he was dashing with me, it was starting to feel like he was mirroring my moves half of the time. We were even getting strange clashes. It was just weird. But for my lineup, having Goku Black fight first helps me feel like the opponent and deal as much damage to the team while also building up skill points to bring in Whis and go absolutely haywire. As you can see here, I build up a good amount of skill points to preserve with Goku Black for the next time he comes in, so after dealing a bunch of damage to Frieza, I wait for my moment to bring Whis in. And with Whis, the plan now is to try and wipe out the entire team without taking as much damage, having Goku Black's Super Saiyan Rose transformation ready for when he comes back in. I might need to find a better plan soon, but so far I haven't had any completely one-sided matches to where I'm getting absolutely dog-walked. So I wouldn't say it's making me feel like this plan is secure, but it's holding for now. And after switching to Whis, this Frieza just had no chance against fresh legs off the bench. After knocking an opponent back post-combo or after eliminating an opponent, those are usually the only moments I'll get with Whis to try tapping into sparking mode, but with Goku Black and the 6 skill points I have with him right now, this would be the perfect chance to pop instant sparking and put pressure on Goku, potentially getting him out of here quickly. But sparking is a dangerous mode that both parties don't want to be engaged in battle with, so obviously it's not going to be easy to charge into. As strong as Goku Black is, I see why he's not so easy to get. I don't know exactly how you can get him from the episodes. I would assume just by completing his episode or an alternate route in someone else's episode, you can unlock him. I bought the Ultimate Edition, so I was able to get a free Senran Whis and Super Senran Whis, which gave me the choice between Goku Black and Zamasu. So I haven't really played any episodes yet. I dabbled a little in Goku's because that was like the first one the game presents to you, but after a couple fights, I headed back to online ranked. I did come back later though and play a bit of Frieza's episode when I had Z Frieza on my team. The only thing you can really unlock in episodes for characters you already have is extra slots for taunts mid-match. Only a select few characters have outfits you can unlock for them. So that's kind of the reason I've been steered away from playing the episodes. This guy definitely started locking in after switching to Trunks. He was super countering more often, dashing out of my grabs, everything you could possibly think of when someone flips the switch. So with me having 2 players and one getting outplayed, I had to think of a way to adapt quickly. If I'm just conditioned to have one playstyle and only do certain things when the circumstances are just right, then it's definitely going to be hard for me to win consistently. For example, key blast spamming an opponent holding perception and following up with a grab is something I started to do a lot, because even though the key blast spam is meant to discourage your opponent from holding perception, they'll still hold it. So grabbing after was something I just always did throughout C rank, and now in B rank, I'm starting to see the ways people counter it, and it forces me to either stop pressuring like that completely or adapt in a way that adds something else to it, like dashing with or around the opponent, waiting patiently for the opponent's next move and reacting to it. And now you have other options the opponent has to look out for instead of your one-trick pony-ish playstyle. With every rank you climb in every game that progresses you forward, there's always different ways people deal with the same type of attack patterns and moves that can open your eyes to new ways you can adapt to every one of them. And when both players know all of the possible tricks that can be thrown at them, it may just come down to the resources the fighter has and obviously the skill level between the players. So as this player continues to hold perception after my wave of ki blasts from all the games of ranked I've played and the videos I've seen, new ways to work around it were revealed to me, increasing my options and evolving my playstyle to quickly continue pressure without having to think about it. And with time, we'll eventually be at a level to where we can assess our opponent's habits, react to them, adjust, and it all just becomes second nature. So as we both have 2 characters left, looking at the skill count between this build, I have just reached enough for a heal with Whis and still have a full 6 with Goku Black for a potential quick transformation into Sparking, immediately turning this game in my favor. But if he keeps up this pressure and doesn't let me get the heal off, the game can easily shift in his direction. And it looks like that's exactly what he plans to do, but unfortunately for him, my conditioned ki blast spam route connected, buying me enough time to pop my heal. He tried to recover as fast as possible and Z-dash towards me, but it was too late, and now I end up getting a Sonic Sway, giving me plenty of time to switch to Goku Black and hopefully finish off Goku before he switches out. I did only have 1 health bar left, so maybe he was just eager to get me out of there and have the numbers advantage against Whis. I could have followed up on Sonic Sway here, but with 6 skill points and having not transformed yet, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to lose Goku Black, I'd at least have attempted to use all of his resources. And what do you know, Goku was literally on the brink of sending him back to where he came from. With both of our deaths on standby, this match is most definitely going to come down to our final fighters, Whis and Trunks. Even though Trunks was on his last bar, he ended up healing quite a bit. And you can see me itching to pop into Sparking to try and end this with Goku Black, but he is not going for it. I was trying my best here to get away from this man to get into Sparking mode, literally fighting for my life, but unfortunately, my fate with Goku Black was already sealed. So now with a considerable life lead from healing before switching out, now all we have to do is apply pressure, play smart, lock in, and seal the victory. But no, I decided to play around with my auto dodge and make the match closer than it needs to be. Luckily, my opponent gets greedy and dashed at me, allowing me to slide past him and finally close out the game. You know, in close match victories like these, we're most likely going to see Whis posing at the end of the match because Goku Black just can't seem to close out. But that is all I have for you guys on Sparking Zero. I obviously have a lot to practice with still if I want to reach S rank or even Z rank with super counters and utilizing skills and such. I still struggle against unblockable ultimates and moves, but that just means there's a lot of room for improvement. Coming from a game like Mortal Kombat that has 50-50s and inescapable setups and whatnot, I feel like Sparking Zero gives you a bit of leeway. And obviously there's the unblockables that are basically impossible to avoid at point blank range, but for people just throwing it out there, you can Z counter it and get rewarded big time for it. Also with super counters, I feel like a fighter's ability to hit super counters will show the skill gap between players in matches. Compared to Mortal Kombat, Sparking Zero is indeed less toxic, and since it is fairly recent, literally coming out a month ago, it's still fresh and new to everyone. So right now, as much as I love Mortal Kombat, Sparking Zero is absolutely fun to play, the same way Mortal Kombat was when it first released, so maybe we'll give Sparking Zero a year and then come back and see what game we're still playing by then. In about 2 weeks from now, we'll have Ghostface making an appearance in Mortal Kombat, so we might as well sit back, feet up, hand stuffed in the candy bag from Halloween. I know you still got the candy. That sweet tooth just couldn't resist. So while you sit there licking your fingers from the king-size Kit Kat bar you got from the lady dressed as a witch in the middle of nowhere, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.